Everybody, welcome. You're hanging out with Ben. This is the Hardcore Punk Project here on the X 92.5 FM in Kamloops. So today I have Joe Keithley with me. You may or may not recognize him as the guitarist and singer of one of the most iconic punk rock bands of all time, D.O.A. He's also a city councillor in Burnaby for the Green Party. Punk and politics, good combination. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah. Thanks for asking me on there,
Ben. First off, are you okay with the teen interviewing you?
Yeah, why not? I don't no restrictions. Hey, I've had people like 80 years old interview me, right? So at different end of the spectrum. So it's all good.
All right. So I see by your tour schedule, you've wrapped up the U.S. part of your tour. How has that been so far?
That was great. We did a dozen shows in a dozen days down Washington, Oregon, California, and Nevada, and back here for a bit. And we've got a few gigs, odd gigs here and there, and then we're off to Ontario and Quebec in July. Or June, I should say.
You expect the Canadian part to go good as well?
Well, I'd be surprised if it didn't. There's kind of a pent-up demand. Like we haven't, for us, it's like it's great to get out. We haven't been touring for like 2 years. We did a few shows here and there. But I think a lot of people show up, and yeah, it's great to see people. Like, it's a lot of fun.
All right. Are you touring with anybody?
With the West Coast tour we did with a band called Death Set. The one in Ontario, Quebec, I probably don't even know how to pronounce the names, but it's PKEW. It's like, but 3 times. Like,
I played those guys before. They're cool.
Yeah. So that'll be my first introduction. I mean, I've never seen them play before, so they're playing on almost all the dates out there.
All right. Now, here's a few questions from your fans that I asked on Facebook.
Okay, cool.
Luke Pombier asks, is it appropriate to be kicked out of a punk show for crowd surfing if there is no sign or notification otherwise? I mean, I just assume that crowd surfing is just what is done at punk shows.
Yeah, I think no, it's not. I wouldn't think so. Because some clubs purposely they'll say no pit, no stage diving. We can't say no pit; that's impossible. But no stage diving or crowd surfing. They'll clearly say that at the front of the stage or at the door. But I mean, if it's a punk rock show, why wouldn't you have it? Yeah. Okay, correct. We're on the same page with that.
Okay. Ian Wright asks, did you take guitar lessons or were you self-taught?
Self-taught. I did. What did I do? I was a drummer from the time I was 11 to I was about 18. And then I realized my buddy Dimwit was a much better drummer. Like, we used to trade instruments back and forth. Like, we kind of had 2 different lineups to our teenage band. And so then I bought an acoustic guitar, and I bought a songbook. And the first song I learned was an old country song, On Top of Old Smoky. I mean, this is like so long ago, most people won't even know what that was, right? But then I thought I'd play electric, and I took a half dozen lessons. And just kind of went from there. Did everything by ear.
All right. Mike Mellinson asks, what's your favorite memory of the snowstorm gig in Moncton back in '84?
Oh, that's really good. That was great. We, because the band wasn't running very well. We just come back from Europe. We went over to the Rock, went over to Newfoundland, and came back. There was a massive snowstorm in April, which being from BC, being from Vancouver area, I wasn't used to. And then we met the guy in town in Moncton. He says, oh, well, the show's out in a hall and follow us. So we drove down, there's a snowstorm, and was out in the forest. So I thought, okay, this guy, Barry Ray, this guy's likely a mass murderer with a giant axe, right? And we're all going to be on your guard, man, be on your guard. Right. And then we got to the show. And there's probably like 150 people from all over the Maritimes. And it was great. But it was so cool. We left the van running the entire time because we didn't think it would start. And yeah, that's a classic show.
All right. And finally, Jimmy Jenkins asks, what's your favorite anime?
Say that again.
What's your favorite anime?
Okay, you know what? What is an anime?
It's pretty much Japanese cartoons.
Oh, gotcha. I don't have one because I haven't watched enough. So
Fair, fair
tell
enough.
it my story.
It's okay. I'm sure he did that as a joke.
Okay, fair enough. It worked.
Okay. What's the most embarrassing thing that happened to you during this tour?
Getting tricked by Google on the route. We were coming back
Ah,
from Vegas, and we're in Southern Oregon, out in the forest, and Google Maps showed the shortest route, and it took us out into a gravel road to the uninhabited national forest, where there's no cell service, no nothing. So if people know what the Donner Party is in the Sierra Nevadas, that we envision ourselves as that. And I'll explain. The Donner Party is they went through the Sierra Nevada mountains way too late in the winter, got caught in a snowstorm, and ended up cannibalizing each other. So we saw ourselves possibly in that position if the van broke down. But so that was kind of dumb to believe everything on your phone.
yeah. That actually happened to me once. We were going to Surrey, I think, and
Yeah,
then Google Maps ended up taking us to White Rock instead.
yeah. You're just going like, yeah. I mean, yeah. What can you do? Sometimes it happens.
Yep. If someone was to make a movie about your band, who would be the actor that played you?
Oh, that's very interesting. What happened to somebody much younger than me? So I don't know. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Ah, all right.
I think he'd have the depth to do it.
Okay.
It'd be a middle period. That wouldn't be the young Joe, but for
Ah,
a young one, I'd have to think about that. We used to. That's a funny question because we'd always say, "Well, if our life's made into a movie, who would you want to play?" Right? And it's like we
mhm.
came up with all sorts of ridiculous suggestions.
All right. If you were portrayed as a comic book character, would you be the hero or the villain?
Well, uh, I would hope the hero, but who knows? That's open to interpretation.
All right. So you're on your couch watching TV, and when you look over to your arm and see a wasp there, what do you do?
A bee, I would go get a jar and save it. A wasp, I would end its life.
Yeah, they're assholes.
Yeah, yeah.
If you had to choose one time in the past to live in, what would it be? Would you be a pirate, a cowboy, a Viking, or a gladiator? And why?
A Viking, a pirate. That's really interesting. Well, whew, they all have their bad connotations. I think a pirate would be pretty interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe not the nicest occupation. You never know when you're going to get run through with a saber, right? So,
Nice. Other than music, what are some of your passions?
yeah. Well, I love hockey. So I don't play too much anymore. But a total hockey pulled nut. Um, Long-suffering Vancouver Canucks fan. I love bubble hockey, table hockey. So it's kind of a good time filler. And yeah, that and oh god, there's got to be some other stuff, but I don't know. Like music's a lot. I do that a lot at night. I play guitar every night at my kitchen table, just to practice.
All right. What are your thoughts on the move to clean energy?
Yeah, well, I remember the Green Party. So I mean, that's the way it's got to go with the. Unfortunately, our federal government, they're trying to move in the right. They're moving in the right direction a little bit, but we should not be subsidizing fossil fuels. If we took the billions and billions of dollars that provincial and federal governments put into subsidizing fossil fuels, building pipelines, giving them tax breaks, et cetera, and put that into clean energy, we would be an enormous way towards our climate goal obligations. That's what we have to start doing.
All right. What is the weirdest thing you have ever eaten? I remember another one of my interviews, one guy said cricket tacos.
Yeah, I've never tried that. I've heard people say that are disgusted by something like that, or you go, wow, it was really delicious, right? So, you know, I can't think of something that, I think the first time I tried snake, a rattlesnake, and it was up in Kamloops. And I thought, okay. It was very bony. It was hard to eat, didn't fill you up, and it tasted like chicken.
I live in Kamloops, by the way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mentioned that. We tried that at a place there, and I get like, and of course, everybody else I was with was horrified. But yeah.
All right. How would you describe your band as a food?
Band as like Kung Pao chicken.
Okay. Hair care. How much time do you spend in your hair?
Not a lot. I'm just glad I still have some at this point, right? So, yeah, I think my old bass player Randy, we'd walk into some place, and then people were like not very hip to punk rock. It was like pretty new. You're talking like 40 years ago, and his hair was all over the place. And somebody go, "What do you call that hairstyle?" He goes, "It's called I don't give a shit style."
Randy Rampage.
Yeah, he was a classic.
It's tough being a kid and a teen in Canada and wanting to go to all ages. I'm losing my mind here.
Okay,
It's tough being a kid or a teen and wanting to go to concerts and shows in Canada. I don't think there's enough all ages shows.
I would totally agree. I think that because not every state, but a lot of times we'll play in the States, and they'll have a section where it's all ages, and then you'll get a hand stamp or a wristband if you're going to have a drink, right? So, and I think that'd be a way more sane way to do it. But for some reason, like most Canadian cities don't do that, or the provinces have too many restrictive rules. But that make way more sense. That I think you should like. It's harder for bands. I mean, underground bands play like warehouses or little backyards of type stuff, and they can do all ages shows. But to get a facility that's all ages for a little bit bigger band is pretty tough sometimes.
All right. What is the strangest object you have fallen in love with, and it can't be guitar?
Can't be guitar. It's a new one. A friend of mine in Oakland. We're both Oakland Raiders fans, even though they moved to Las Vegas. He gave me a jacket that was a special jacket printed in 1967. He just gave that to me last week. My buddy Tommy from Oakland, that grew up in the East Bay, and has become my new favorite thing. And I'm waiting to take it. I'm waiting to take it to a Raiders game in Las Vegas, so everybody can go, where the hell did you get that? Because most people know California Raiders, with the, all the hip hop and rapper guys, all that wearing that stuff. But yeah, anyways, it's an oddity.
All right. What is the last gift that you bought for someone?
Last gift. A bunch of CDs.
Okay.
Punk rock.
Which one of your songs is your baby? Like the song you enjoy playing the most?
Yeah, good point. It's kind of like a 3 or 4 way tie. I'd say those Woke Up Screaming. That's got personal meaning. That's when I got beat up by the police in Vancouver. long time ago. World War III, The Enemy, and The Prisoner. We played the last three of those. We play every night, but I would say those are pretty synonymous with myself.
All right. Have you intentionally backmasked anything?
What does that mean?
Backmasking is when you hide something in reverse.
Something in reverse. Huh. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Okay.
It was a thing used by a lot of evangelists in the 80s to see if songs were satanic or not.
Oh, backward masking. Okay, right. Yeah. We did a song called Liar for Hire, which is on our third album, War on 45. And right, it was Jerry Falwell was the big TV preacher. And we made up a bunch of stuff and talking crap about Jerry Falwell and did the backward masking. Because, yeah, you're right. It was like, at that time, Christian fundamentalists were looking at the evil of rock and roll and this supposed satanic message that we were trying to send out to kids. So we thought we'd do something very purposeful.
Right. If you had 2 minutes to address all the world leaders, what would you say and why?
I'd say they have to, number one, I'd say they have to actually believe in climate change. That's our number one thing we have to solve. And with the war in the Ukraine, so obviously that would be, I don't know how you address that, because when people want to start wars like Vladimir Putin, the war just, didn't just start. He amassed troops for months and months, and then this horrible thing is going on now. So, but I'd say the leaders have to take care of climate change, because there won't be much left if they don't.
All right. Some people have given more fleshed out answers. One guy just said, frick off.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, now this is a question that I've asked all the artists I've interviewed. Will you accept a challenge from me?
Sure. I don't know if I'm up to it, but I'll try.
Okay. Now, most of my challenges are usually lighthearted or goofy, but this one's gonna be just a little bit more serious.
Okay.
The challenge is to write a song about ADHD, something that I've struggled with, and what it feels like to have it. The only catch is that it also has to be extremely fast. I'd say around 200 BPM if you can keep up with that.
Wow. You talking about writing a song on the spot?
Not on the spot. You can figure it out.
Okay. Write a song about ADHD. Okay. 200 beats. 200, how many beats per minute?
200, at least.
200 BPM. Okay. At least. Okay. You know what? I don't even know how fast that is, because I'm used to playing fast music, but yeah, I'll keep that. I don't know when I'm going to do that, but I just wrote that down. So yeah, okay, fair enough.
All right. Do you have any advice for up-and-coming punk bands before we go?
Yeah, I'd say the one thing, and it kind of goes for all bands, right, that if you got a style you really like playing, stick with it. And because if you try and follow a style that's really popular now, by the time you catch up, probably the style changes, or what we used to call the flavor of the month or whatever type thing musically. Because people are always trying to get, if we could do that, we'd be big stars or something like that, but I think just stick to your roots and enjoy what you're doing. And I think this kind of thing that if you're good at, you're going to build up a reputation, and people are going to start showing up, and people show up for a long time. And it's kind of like, my favorite example of that is No Means No. We took them on tour with us in 86 and 87 when they were like really unknown, all around North America, big long tours. And people kind of went, who the hell are these guys? Because they didn't sound like a punk band, more oddity, jazz, punk, or whatever people like to call them. And eventually they took off, right? And just kept at it, because they didn't change because it wasn't immediately successful. So I think, yeah, just stick to your roots.
All right. Well, that's all the time we've got today. Thanks again for joining me on the Hardcore Punk Project, Joe.
Yeah. No, very good. No, nice meeting you online here. Yeah, and good luck with all this.
All right. Well, you have a good day.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, man. You take care.
Mm-hmm.